Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. You know, when we take a risk, we're saying we're going to raise our vibe. We're going to be our most energetic, highest selves because we're saying yes to something that feels a little scary. That's part of the whole thing. That's also part of having your amygdala take a seat. We talked about that. And if you're not familiar with our clapping, that's to bring us back to present, and so that we can engage with ourselves and our brains and say, this is it. This is what we're going to do. So that's all what this is about, because today we're talking about raising your vibe to the place of making the shift. So in order to raise your vibe, you have to make an energetic shift. And everybody, of course, asks, well, how in the heck am I going to do that? Right? Indeed. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? And even as I say it, even as you might, when you read the show notes, you're going to be reading it, you're going to say, okay, so I just don't get this. I just don't know how. I mean, do I just say like, ooh, energetic shift, or rub my hands together like I showed you how to do yesterday? But the question really is, how on earth does one make this decision and actually make it happen that you're shifting toward a higher vibe, higher energy, your better self, your higher self? How do we do this? Okay, so I told you I'm a little bit of a lover of words. I love myself a nice little metaphor. And today, do I ever have one for you? Who here remembers driving a stick shift? You learned how to drive a stick shift. Pinkies up if you were in the car with your dad screaming at you as you learned how to drive a stick. Anyone? Hey, Susan. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Anyone? Well, I'll tell you what, I learned how to do that. And I learned how to do it sitting with my dad, sitting in the passenger seat, screaming at me the whole time. You know, that's what dads did. And I'm going to tell you, if you were of a certain age, anybody VW Bug, that was me. I had the best little turquoise colored VW Bug. I can still smell it. VW Bugs have that smell. VW Bugs do have that smell. Hey, Juanita. Doris has got her pinkies up. She drove one. So did Jama. We all did. You know, we learned how to drive that. And we all had our dads yelling at us as we did it, didn't we? I mean, that was part of the whole thing. But the scariness of it all. I mean, listen, I was 16 years old. I had my driver's license. And if I wanted to get around without my, borrowing my parents, we had that VW. I had better learn how to shift. I'd better learn how to do it, So, I did with everything that was in me. I was going to learn how to do this. You know why? Because at the other end of learning this was a whole bunch of freedom that would be mine as a 16-year-old. So the risk of learning versus not learning, I was going to do everything within my power to learn how to do this. So you remember what the whole thing was about right when you learned how to do it? Do you remember? Right when you learned how to do it? Oh my gosh, Mary had hers a truck, 3 on the tree. Remember those? Well, I had 4 on the floor. It was a Volkswagen. But there was listening to the engine before you engaged with your feet on the floor, and then you had the gear shift where you had to shift it. There was watching the speedometer to make sure that you were shifting in time. Otherwise, the engine would be going, whee! Remember that? Of course you do. You all remember this. You're hearing it. You're experiencing. Are you feeling it? Are you like the grand pianist? Or if I did a brain scan on you right now, you're actually driving. You remember, because all the intrepidation in the world, all the fear of all the things that you had to do and still drive. And you were a new driver, likely looking in the rear view mirror, checking over your shoulder, watching your mirrors, doing all of that. Coordinating to engage the gear shift at just the right time as your foot engages with the clutch and then hitting the accelerator all at the same time. It was a lot to ask. And then one day it was just fluid. It was easy peasy. You just did it. You go pick up your girlfriends, get in the car, and then you'd all go running to the beach. This is Southern California. And we're driving to the beach. We're going down Beach Boulevard, driving as fast as I possibly could in that little V-dub. And so later on, when I was older, and a senior in high school, I remember, or I guess it was a junior in high school, I just remember this, having a conversation, driving all the time, having a conversation, playing the radio really loud, talking to all the girlfriends going along, no problem. Smoking an illicit cigarette. Oh yeah, I did that. Yep. Doing all at the same time. Not a hang up in the world. It was like I had never had to learn. It was just second nature. Second nature. Yeah. But the process of learning to shift, that was a learning process. It brought in timing. I had to learn about the timing. I had to learn, I had to have my senses aligned with what the car was doing, what I needed to do. I had to get over my fear and my intrepidation and wondering if I'd ever get it. I just had to do it because I knew what was on the other side of this whole entire complicated yikes process was freedom. Freedom to be my 16-year-old self and to experience the world without my parents, without anybody telling me what to do. And boy, was that enticing as a teenager. Anyone remember? Of course you do. But in order to get from here to there, we had to learn how to shift, ladies, didn't we? We were shifters. We got in that car and we shifted. And for those of us on a quest to become our most vibrant selves, we have to learn how to shift too. We have to get into the driver's seat. We have to do all these scary things. We have to do some of them at the same time. And we have to engage every one of our senses, every single one of them. And we have to deploy this same process that we had learning how to drive a stick shift when we were kids. Because on the other side of learning to shift is real freedom to become our most vibrant vision of ourselves. We need heightened awareness. We need to feel scared, but go forward anyway, right? We need to be keenly aware of timing because timing is everything, right? We need to understand that shifting is a little bit ritualistic, and shifting as we shift ourselves into this new dynamic of a higher vibe of our higher selves, it's a little bit ritualistic too. There's things involved with it. There's things that are precious that help to lift us up and take us to the place that we want to go. And so I want to just kind of go through some of these things. Some of it I'm going to be dragging my Volkswagen along with me. Some of it doesn't fit, but bear with me. It's still worth a good analogy, isn't it? Well, the first thing that we need to do in order to make this work out is that we have to tap into our senses, right? I remember getting into the car. Well, I mean, we drove Volkswagen, all through my growing up years, we had Volkswagens in our driveway, always. And they have a particular smell. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Anybody remember the smell of a Volkswagen? I'm not talking about somebody who smoked in it or whatever, but just Volkswagens had the smell. And so I would remember that. And right now I can smell it in my mind's eye. And I could hear it. I can hear what it sounded like when the engine turned over, and I can see it, engage with it. And finally, I learned how to drive it. I learned how to drive it. And with my hot desire to shift to my higher energy self, I tap into my vision board for some of this because I need to be able to see it. And my vision board, I've shared my vision board with you and how my vision board has led me to actually see things happen in my life, not exactly according to the vision board, but that or something better is what I always say with this vision board. Yeah, that's what I want. That's it. That's my heart's desire. And this is for the greater good. I just told you about the greater good happening on July 29th and 30th, right? For the greater good. I'm visualizing in my mind's eye in the lower deck, this long, fabulous table where we're all sitting together eating. I'm shifting to a higher purpose and a higher vision and a brighter tomorrow, not just for me, but that I get to serve and be a part of bringing my community together. And I can't even tell you the privilege, the honor, the opportunity to be in together like that. I mean, it's everything. And when I sit down with my Take Back Your Life journal and I'm writing out my gratitude, do you guys think you ever make the list? Oh, heck yes, you do. More than you know. You make the list all the time. Gratitude, intense gratitude. I write it out and I affirm it every single day with my intentional goals. Every single day. I am. And with every single Target Trifecta smoothie I make, and every time I take my supplements, every time I'm hot milk sprinting, I'm affirming the woman I want to be. I'm becoming the woman of my dreams, the queen of my own life. And that is my higher self. That's my higher calling. It's yours too. We're in this together, by the way. That's how we shift to become our best selves. We fuel it, we dream about it, we visualize, and we take action, by God. We don't sit on our duffs and go, I wish upon a star. We get up off our butts and do something about it. It's a requirement. Number 2, when I had the VW, I put the key in, I buckled up. And at that time, seatbelts weren't mandatory. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. It just depended because it was the 70s. And I took off so I could reach my destination because I wanted that freedom. And likewise, when I make a decision to sit down and journal and to visualize and to transform my life and transform my existence and to be of service and to be mission oriented and be a woman of a high calling, I'm shifting to transform right now because I need to get in the driver's seat just like you do. I meditate, I pray, I journal, I sleep, I hydrate, I move, I eat like I'm worth something. This is how we intentionally move the needle in our lives and intentionally move to the next higher vibrating level. You can feel the energy, can't you? Can you feel what it feels like to be there versus feeling like a slug on a couch with a bag of fast food? Does that light you up? How about this? Number 3, intentionally creating a great and supportive environment. That was my goal when I was 60 years old back in 2018. And I wrote an email to my entire list and I said, I don't want to be cooking a skillet full of chicken for the rest of my life. I feel a higher calling. I feel, and not that any kind of domestic work is beneath me. You understand that. But I felt like I was being called to the next thing. And I will certainly always want to empower women. That's why I did NutriCoach and got the NutriCoach program together. Cooking is a high calling. Let me just say this, because you're feeding people you love and feeding yourself, whom you also love too, by the way. But when we are intentionally creating the lives that we want to live, we are intentionally doing the things that will create it. We have to. And we have to put everything under the microscope. Is this creating the life that I want to lead? Or is this just dragging me down and putting me into a place where I feel like I just can't rise above? What are you focused on? What's your mindset? What's your environment about? Right? So we know that sometimes, you have to balance, like when I was in San Francisco as an 18-year-old, right when I got out of high school, we went to San Francisco and I remember being on one of those great big hills and saying to the girls, just hold on, downshifting and pressing into the clutch with my left foot, pressing into the gas with my right foot, and just hoping upon hopes that I would somehow get over that hill without us all crashing down in the back. But it's like that sometimes too, when we are trying to imagine and trying to create the lives that we want to live. Everything's involved, all the senses. And, here in my office, I shared with you, my office is a little bit of a mess left over from casino. And I looked at it and I said, this is not a supportive environment. This does not create the life that I want to live. This does not create the environment that's going to nurture creativity and being mission oriented. I got to get rid of the clutter. I got to get rid of the mess. I've got to clean and create the environment that supports this life that I want to live. And so I'm, on it. I am on that this afternoon or later on this evening after dinner. I'm going to do that because visual peace and order is an affirmation of the life you want to live. This is why getting the clutter out between your ears and around your life is so important. And surrounding yourself and replacing that instead with inspiration, with beautiful quotes that light you up like this one. We have our quote decks. We have all the tools for that. They're at savingdinner.com/tools if you've ever seen them. Having a mug that you love to drink out of, my full bloom mug, having a journal that you can write these things into that lets your soul just expand. All of this is how we build. This is the expansion of what's next for us in our lives. This is high vibe stuff. This is high vibe stuff. And when we do this, we're acknowledging that high vibe and we're participating in it and we're elevating and rising to it. Rise to it. And when I say that and I feel what it feels like to rise up, that's powerful because that's saying that I'm acknowledging the power that God himself created in me to be the woman that I'm supposed to be. Amen. And when we do this, we cannot help but be the attraction point for that higher vibe. Maybe it sounds a little woo-woo, but I'm telling you, never once in my life have I ever seen this come crashing down on its face, ever. I understand that when I am in control of the woman that I want to be, even if I'm not there yet, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to, fake it till I make it. I'm going to be it till see it. And there's a big shift that happens with that because you're in the embodiment of your higher self when you start taking that kind of action. And boy, does it ever light you up. Boy, does it start to change and shift the whole paradigm of the way you're living your life. Number 4 is that community here and outside of myself is incredibly important. My community with you is one of the biggest blessings I've ever had in my life. I've never seen anything quite like this. And every single day I go to bed and I say my prayers and I have the utmost of gratitude for you all. But I also know that I need a little group of women who are here. And today I started I've got a group of women that I met, 5 women in this group, all interested in the same level of health and wellness and living their most vibrant lives. I'm getting together and having lunch with them next week. 5. There's 5 of us all together. Wow. I've been waiting for that. Do you know how long I've been waiting for that? And they're right here in my community. And I get to do this. That is a blessing from God. We need to have different roles in our lives. We need to be teachers and we need to be students. Keep that in mind. Because when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. Keep that in mind. Number 5 is you have to release what no longer serves you. Am I right? I hate Sharpie pens because I don't like the smell, but nothing quite works as well as a Sharpie pen. But, I used to buy onesie, twosie Sharpie pens every once in a while. And then when they started to run out, I'd just do one of these and kind of, hope that I would get a little bit more out of it. But it kind of got to the point where I started saying, why am I doing this? And some of you who've gotten my little thank you notes are saying probably, looks like that Sharpie's running out. And yes, that's what I did. I would keep writing with that Sharpie because they still had a little ink in it. That's all leftovers, by the way, from my scarcity-minded parents who never let anything go. We were not hoarders. Our house was immaculate, but it was just, when I cleaned up my mom's stuff from, when we sold her house and moved her out here, she still had towels in there from the 70s that I recognized. I swear to you, that I recognized. It was unbelievable. But we have to let go of things like pens that don't work anymore. We have to let go of things like clutter that's all over the place, thinking I might need it someday. And I'm going to tell you this, give it up. Because when you give it up, you are saying to God, I trust you completely with every single thing, including how many hairs are on my head. I trust you. I'm going to let go of things that no longer serve. Because box upon box of stuff and crap is box upon box of stuff that weighs you down. It can't help elevate you and take you to that next level. Let it go and watch what happens. And watch what happens as you do. Let go of the thoughts that hold you captive, that bring you down, that throw you back down that hole. Let go of them. Just say, what if I, instead of going there with it, said, hey, you know what? Hey, that's enough. I'm done with that. What if you interrupted it and said, I can't, I'm just not doing that anymore? What if? We can make new pathways in our brain anytime we want. We can make new pathways anytime we decide. We can make a new decision anytime we decide we're going to. And we make those kind of choices, we are elevating and going to that next level and shifting the dynamic in our lives. Letting go is the way that you tell your creator you trust him, that he's got your back, that that every single one of your needs will always be met, and that by allowing this out into the universe, he's going to come back and double down on it. I double dog dare you to test this out on me, because I have never seen it not work, because we serve an awesome God. One who has filled you with this energetic self who is you, one who has made you the way he is the image of him, wonderfully made, fearfully and wonderfully made, on purpose and for purpose. Do you believe that? Then it's time to step back and say, yes, I'm going to be the queen of my own life. Yes, I am going to own it. I'm going to own all of it. And start making some choices, some little actions that underline the way you're starting to see yourself. Because I believe in you. I believe in this entire community. And I know that we are called to do this work together. What do you think of that idea? Let's do it. Let's do it. And to that, I say, yes, please. More of that. All right. Now I'm done preaching. And we were going to put the VW analogy to bed. What do you think? Good idea? Tomorrow's Wise Women's Wednesday. Who knows what's on the docket? But this whole week, we are talking about elevating, shifting, and living in our highest vibe self, because that's what we're called to do. And I hope I can help you out with some of that. Don't forget, get your show notes. Tomorrow's notes are going to be in your inbox, or today's notes will be in your inbox tomorrow morning. All you have to do is go to savingdinner.com and go get them. That's how it works. Peace be with you. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.